Hello everyone, welcome to our YouTube channel Buddha Affirmation. Here every story has a purpose and every lesson is meant to help you grow in a life. So let's dive into a new story that will teach you what should you do if someone insults you. So let's start the story. Once upon a time, the Buddha was walking through a village. This was not just any village, it was a place where people had heard of the Buddha, but they did not care for him. In fact, they did not like him at all. They had their reason, or so they thought, and when they saw him coming, they were ready to let him know exactly how they felt. As the Buddha walked calmly through the village, the people started to gather around him. Their faces were twisted with anger and their voices were loud and harsh. They began hurling insults at him, shouting words that were meant to hurt and provoke him. It was clear that they wanted to see him react, to show that their word had power over him. At the center of the commotion was the village leader, a man known for his fiery temper and quick judgment. He was the first to start the verbal assault, and soon the rest of the villagers followed his lead. The leader's voice boomed as he shouted insult, each word laced with anger and resentment. He was determined to break the Buddha's calm demeanor, but the Buddha, ever composed, did not respond in kind. He did not even seem to be affected by harsh words. Instead, he simply smiled, a calm, gentle smile that only seemed to infuriate the leader even more. The leader kept yelling, his voice growing hoarse from the effort, but the Buddha's peaceful expression never wavered. After what felt like an eternity, the leader's voice finally gave out. He was exhausted, his throat dry, and he could not continue. Seeing that the man had finished, the Buddha spoke for the first time. His voice was soft and calm, a stark contrast to the shouting that had just filled the air, and then the Buddha said, "If you are done, I should continue my way. I have another village to visit, and the people there are waiting for me." The villagers were stunned. They had expected the Buddha to react with anger or at least defend himself, but instead he seems completely unaffected by their outburst. One man, unable to contain his curiosity, and stepped forward and asked, "We have been insulting you, calling you names, and yet you just stand there smiling. Why are not you angry? Why don't you fight back?" The Buddha turned to the man and replied, "My friend, you arrive a little too late. 10 years ago, I would have reacted differently. Back then, I was just like you. If someone insulted me or spoke ill of me, I would have become angry. I might have even responded with harsher words, or perhaps even resorted to violence. But now, I have moved beyond that. I have left all my anger and hatred behind." The villagers were confused by Buddha's word. They could not understand how someone could remain so calm in the face of such a provocation. The village leader, still seething with frustration, could not believe what he was hearing. "How can you just ignore what we have said?" the leader demanded. "I have insulted you in front of everyone, humiliated you. What do you mean you have moved beyond anger?" The Buddha smiled again, a warm, understanding smile that seemed to reach into the heart of those around him. "I am at a place now where your insult cannot reach me. Your word, your anger, they are like arrows that fall short of their mark. You may have thrown them, but they have not touched me." The leader stared at the Buddha and asked, still not fully understanding, "What do you mean?" The Buddha continued, "Imagine you bring a gift to someone, but they refuse to accept it. Who then owns the gift? You, of course. It remains yours until it is accepted. The same goes for yours, anger and your insult. You offered them to me, but I have not accepted them. They remain with you, and you must decide what to do with them." The villagers began to murmur among themselves, trying to grasp the meaning of Buddha's word. The leader, however, was not ready to let go. That's all well and good, but you cannot just ignore what has been said to you. It does not make sense. The Buddha smiled widened as he said, "Yesterday I visited another village. The people there were kind and eager to hear my teaching. After my talk, the village chief offered me some sweet, but I had already eaten and I was not hungry, so I declined his offer. The sweet remained with him because I did not accept them. The same principle applies here. You have offered me your anger and hatred, but I have not taken them. What you do with this emotion now is up to you." A man from the crowd spoke up. "So what happened to the sweet? What did the sheep do with them?" The Buddha nodded at the question. "He likely shared them with his family, as they were not needed by me. Just as I did not accept the sweet, I do not accept your anger and your insult. They remain with you." The village leader was at a loss for the word. For the first time, he seemed to be struggling to understand what the Buddha was saying. The other villagers looked on, some nodding in agreement and others still trying to process the wisdom they had just heard. The Buddha's voice softened as he continued, "I feel compassion for you, my friend. Anger is like a thorn that wounds both the giver and receiver. It causes pain and suffering to all involved. But if I do not accept this thorn, it cannot harm me. I remain untouched by your anger because I see it for what it is, a fleeting emotion that has no power over me." The leader's eyes filled with tears, though he was not sure why. He wanted to speak, but his voice failed him. As the full weight of the Buddha's word sank in, he found himself overwhelmed with shame and regret, unable to bear it any longer, and he fell to his knees at the Buddha's feet. The Buddha gently placed a hand on the man's shoulder and said, "Do not be troubled. There is no need for shame. Anger is a powerful force, but it can be overcome. The first step is recognize it for what it is, and then choosing to let it go. This is the path to peace." The villagers watched in awe as their leader, once so full of pride and anger, was humble before the Buddha. The scene was a powerful reminder that true strength lies not in power or control, but in the ability to remain calm and centered, even in the face of provocation. As the Buddha prepared to continue his journey, the villagers stepped aside, their hostility replaced by newfound respect. They had witnessed something extraordinary, an act of grace and wisdom that had power to change heart and mind. The Buddha turned to the crowd and said, "Remember this, the power of your emotion lies in your hand. You can choose to hold on to anger and let it consume you, or you can let it go and find peace. The choice is yours each and every moment." With that, the Buddha walked on and leaving the villagers to reflect on the lesson they had just learned. The village leader, now humble and introspective, vowed to change his face. He realized that the path to true leadership is not through dominance or fear, but through compassion and understanding. The villagers, inspired by Buddha's example, began to practice mindfulness and self-reflection. Over time, the village became known not for its hostility, but for its harmony and peace. The Buddha's teaching had taken root, transforming the community from within. As the year passed, the story of the Buddha and the village leader spread far and wide. It became a tale told to the children and adults, a story that resonated with anyone who struggled with anger and resentment. The lesson was simple but profound. True strength lies in ability to rise above the negative emotion, to see them for what they are, and to choose peace instead. The village leader, who had once been the embodiment of anger and pride, became a symbol of transformation. He dedicated the rest of his life to practicing and teaching the principle the Buddha has shared. He learned to listen more, to react less, and to guide his people with kindness and wisdom rather than force. Under his new leadership, the village thrived. Conflicts were resolved through dialogue, and sense of unity and mutual respect blossomed among the people. This story teaches that by not accepting or reacting to negativity, we remain unaffected by others' attempt to harm us. This teaches the value of self-control, compassion and understanding, showing that inner peace is not disturbed by external provocation. Instead of being consumed by anger, we can transform it into an opportunity for personal growth and harmonious relationship, ultimately leading to a more peaceful and fulfilling life. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed this video, hit like button, and for more such stories, subscribe to our channel. Thank you and stay positive.